Have you ever walked into a salon, excited for a fresh bob haircut, only to walk out, feeling like something just didn't sit right? It's a familiar feeling, especially after 60. When our features soften, our hair changes texture, and suddenly the same cut we wore 10 years ago feels harsh or outdated. You might look in the mirror and think, this isn't me. But what if the problem isn't you? It's the shape. Because not all bob haircuts are created equal. Some can drag your face down, others can add unwanted weight around the jawline, and a few, they might look modern on paper, but in real life, they're hard to wear, especially for mature women. Today, we're going to uncover 5 bob haircuts women over 60 should avoid, and more importantly, what to choose instead. From unflattering angles to the wrong layering, you'll learn exactly what to look for. So you can walk out of the salon feeling radiant, not regretful. So make yourself a cup of tea, take a deep breath, and let's begin our journey to finding the most flattering bob haircut for the most confident version of you. There's something undeniably timeless about a clean, one-length bob. It looks polished, intentional, and somehow gives off the vibe of quiet elegance. But here's the part no one tells you. Once we reach a certain age, that same cut can work against us. Especially after 60, when our hair texture begins to change, it might get finer or thinner around the crown. Or maybe it's lost the natural bounce it once had. Now, imagine cutting that hair into a perfectly straight line. No layers, no movement, no softness, just one heavy curtain, resting right at your jawline. At first glance, it may look chic, but give it a second look. The weight of that cut pulls everything down. And I don't just mean the hair. It can pull down your face shape too, especially if you have a softer jawline or a rounder face. This kind of cut can actually widen your features, making you look fuller around the cheeks and more tired than you really are. This is where so many women feel confused. They followed the Pinterest board, they brought the photo to the salon, and yet they walk out, look in the mirror, and think, why does this make me feel heavier? The truth is, a one-length bob lacks movement. It doesn't create the lift or lightness our face often needs after 60. And for many mature women, it ends up feeling bulky, flat, and just a little too severe. But here's the good news. You don't have to give up on that classic bob silhouette. You just need to tweak it. You just need to tweak it. Instead of going completely blunt, ask your stylist for a slightly layered bob haircut with soft beveling at the ends. Even a gentle undercut or texturizing around the base can transform the entire look. It breaks up the weight, adds subtle lift, and lets your hair move the way it wants to. This kind of lightweight bob haircut is especially flattering for older women because it softens the lines, it hugs the jawline without clinging too tight, and most importantly, it creates balance between the fullness in your cheeks and the flow of your hair. You'll notice it right away. When you turn your head and your hair has that quiet sway, that natural, effortless bounce. It's not just about the cut, it's about how it makes you feel. And a soft, layered bob has a way of lifting your mood just as much as it lifts your features. So if you've ever felt weighed down by a bob, the solution might be as simple as 1 or 2 layers. Cut with care, not trend. Now that we've lightened things up a bit, let's talk about another mistake, one that has less to do with weight and everything to do with direction. Because sometimes the cut isn't too blunt, it's just pulling your face in the wrong direction. So now that we've let go of all that weight, let's talk about something just as important, direction. Because when it comes to a bob haircut, the direction your eye follows is just as powerful as the shape itself. Now imagine this. You're standing in front of the mirror, admiring your fresh cut, and from the front it seems, okay. But then you turn your head slightly to the side and suddenly the whole silhouette shifts. Instead of lifting your features, your hair is guiding the eye downward, straight toward the nape of your neck. That's what happens with a bob that's longer in the back and shorter in the front, also known as the reverse bob. And while it may have been edgy and bold in the early 2000s, this style does very few favors for women over 60. Here's why. That longer length in the back, especially when it curves inward, creates a downward slope that visually pulls the face south. And if you already struggle with a sagging jawline, or you're trying to fight that heavy neck look, this angle works directly against you. Instead of framing your face, it cuts beneath it. Instead of lifting your eyes, it settles your gaze low, right where we don't want attention. But just like before, there's an easy shift. What your face likely needs now isn't a dramatic angle that fights your structure, but a face-framing bob haircut that works with it. That usually means going a little shorter in the back, not higher, just lighter, and gradually tapering forward, following the natural line of your cheekbones and jaw. This kind of bob haircut that lifts the face creates an upward sweep, softly guiding the eye along your bone structure. Rather than breaking away from it, it also opens up the neck and adds length where we want it. At the front, gently grazing the chin, or just below, depending on your preference. And if you're worried about losing length, don't be. You can still keep that lovely elongation in the front. The key is balance. A flattering bob for mature women doesn't need to be extreme. Just enough of a slope to sculpt your features and let your confidence shine through. You'd be surprised how much that gentle lift does. It's not just flattering, it feels empowering. Like your haircut is standing with you, not against you. So the next time you're tempted by that dramatic back-heavy bob, take a breath, tilt your chin up, and ask yourself, is this cut lifting me or weighing me down? Because in this stage of life, every detail should rise, just like you have. And speaking of drama in the front, let's move into the next mistake, where too much length in the wrong place can throw everything off balance. So far, we've talked about weight, and we've talked about direction, but now let's talk about proportion, because when it comes to haircuts, especially bob haircuts, proportion is everything. And one of the most common mistakes I see, especially in women over 60, is choosing a bob with front pieces that are simply too long. At first, it sounds like a good idea. Longer pieces in the front. Frame the face. Feel sophisticated and edgy, maybe even a little cool aunt energy. But here's the problem. When those front pieces are too exaggerated and the angle becomes too steep, it creates a harsh diagonal line. And that line doesn't follow your natural features, it fights them. You might notice that the cut looks beautiful in profile, but from the front, it feels disconnected. The eye has nowhere to settle. The softness we crave at this age, that subtle framing of the cheekbones, the jawline, the neck, gets lost in the drama. And worse, when the front hangs too long, especially if the back is shorter or layered, it creates an imbalance. Your haircut begins to look like two different styles sewn together, and what's meant to flatter ends up drawing attention to the areas you'd rather soften, like jowls, a sagging jawline, or even a heavier chin. If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, why does the front of my bob feel so heavy? This might be why. But again, we're not here to criticize. We're here to adjust, because a little goes a long way. You don't have to eliminate the angled bob entirely, you just need to soften it. One beautiful solution. Try a jawline framing bob haircut, where the angle begins just behind the ears and ends just below the chin. This gentle slope hugs the face instead of cutting across it. And if you want something a little more modern, ask your stylist for a subtle asymmetrical bob for older women. One side can be slightly longer, just enough to add interest, but not so much that it overpowers the rest of the cut. This kind of shape is ideal if you want to maintain length but still keep everything in balance. You'll be amazed at how this tweak lifts your features, especially the cheekbones, while softly minimizing areas like the lower jaw or neck. It also grows out better over time, which is an underrated bonus. Because let's face it, The fewer trips to the salon, the better. And remember, this is not about chasing trends. It's about finding what works for your face, your life, your energy. The best modern bob styles for women over 60 aren't always the flashiest, and they're the ones that move with you, that reflect who you are now, not who you were 20 years ago. So before you say yes to that bold, super angled front, take a moment to tilt your head side to side. Imagine what you want your haircut to say about you. Does it say strong, yet soft, confident, yet graceful? Because your haircut can do all of that, if it's balanced just right. And now that we've found the sweet spot in the front, let's turn around and take a closer look at the back. Because in the next section, we'll explore why overlayering at the nape can create more problems than it solves. Now that we've softened the front, let's gently turn our attention to the back. Because even the most beautiful bob haircut from the front can fall completely flat from behind. Or worse, it can look like a different haircut altogether. This often happens with bobs that are cut too high and too tight at the nape. At first glance, the idea might sound appealing, neat, clean, sharp. But once it's done, you may look in the mirror and feel something's off, not necessarily wrong, just disconnected. And here's why. When the hair is cropped too high in the back, almost reaching above the occipital bone, it breaks the visual flow of your entire haircut. The eye travels up the neck and then jumps to the front, which may be long, angled, or layered. And suddenly your bob feels split in two, as if someone pressed pause midway through the cut. Even worse, this sharp lift in the back can accentuate areas we often want to soften after 60, like a fuller neck, rounded shoulders, or slight curvature in the upper back. Instead of offering a graceful silhouette, this style can make you feel like you're exposing more than you'd like, all while losing the harmony of the haircut itself. But don't worry, this doesn't mean short in the back is off limits. It just means we have to rethink how we create that shape. Rather than cutting too high and removing all softness, try asking your stylist for a graduated bob haircut. This technique keeps the nape neat and slightly shorter, but allows for gentle stacking of layers, creating a smooth slope that naturally hugs your neck and lifts the whole back portion without being too aggressive. The result? A cut that moves with you, not one that looks rigid or forced. This approach also works beautifully with finer hair, because the graduated shape adds volume and support, without relying on too much product or styling. And for those with naturally thick hair, it helps reduce bulk in the right places, while still keeping length where it flatters. A well-done layered bob for older women should feel cohesive from every angle, front, side, and back. That means the transition from the nape to the jawline to the cheekbones should feel like one seamless story. And when done right, it creates the illusion of lift, especially important if you're hoping to elongate the neck or counteract a softer jawline. Plus, this kind of neck-length bob style is incredibly easy to maintain. It grows out beautifully, and it never feels too severe, even on days when you skip the styling brush. Because let's be honest, some mornings we want a haircut that just falls into place, something that looks polished, without effort. So if your current bob feels like it's battling itself from back to front, take a step back. Ask yourself, is the nape serving the shape or sabotaging it? You deserve a haircut that honors your entire presence, not just the view from the mirror. And speaking of balance, there's one more mistake that many women overlook. It happens when we layer the back, but forget something very important in the front. Let's dive into that next. Let's imagine this. You just got your bob beautifully layered in the back. The shape is sculpted. It moves when you move. It lifts your profile and adds softness at the nape. From behind, it's perfection. But then, you turn around and something feels off. The front feels heavy, flat, even a little static. This is what happens when a bob is layered in the back, but left blunt, and one length in the front. And it's more common than you think, especially for women over 60, because many stylists focus their work at the back, thinking that's where volume matters most. And yes, layering there does make a difference. It gives lift, it lightens thick hair, it creates movement. But if the front isn't given the same care, you're left with a disconnect. It's like wearing two different haircuts, one dynamic and one completely still. Even worse, this mismatch pulls the weight of the hairstyle forward. So all that beautifully sculpted movement in the back ends up pushing hair toward your face, right where you don't want it to pile up. And suddenly, the front feels bulky, especially if you have full cheeks, a soft jawline, or a double chin. It can unintentionally highlight the lower part of your face and drag the overall shape downward. So how do we fix it? Gently, strategically, and with just the right amount of face framing layers. This doesn't mean chopping lots of short pieces around the face. It means subtly sculpting the front so it matches the movement of the back. These textured layers don't have to be dramatic. In fact, the most flattering ones are often invisible, but they make all the difference. By removing just a bit of weight and adding a soft curve around the cheeks or chin, you allow the whole haircut to breathe. The result? A modern layered bob for mature women that looks intentional, not accidental, balanced, not top-heavy, and the best part, it moves as one. When the breeze catches it, it flows naturally. When you turn your head, it follows in harmony. There's no stiffness, no chunk of hair sitting frozen by your cheeks, just soft, lived-in elegance. This kind of face-framing bob haircut is ideal if you want a cut that lightens your look without losing the sophistication of a bob. It's especially flattering for women with fuller faces because it redirects focus upward toward your eyes, your cheekbones, your smile. And here's something else to keep in mind. When the front and back of your haircut are in sync, styling becomes so much easier. You don't have to fight to make it work, it just works. So if your bob feels like it's doing two different things at once, it might not be you. It might be that the story isn't finished in the front. Now that we've explored all 5 mistakes, there's just one more final tip I want to share. A quiet detail that's often overlooked, but can make or break your entire bob. Let's take a moment to talk about how you style the ends, because too much bend can completely flatten your glow. Now that we've gone through the cut itself, let's take a quiet moment to talk about the finish. Because sometimes it's not the haircut that's wrong, it's the way we style it. And one of the most common styling habits I see, especially with bobs, is over-curling the ends. You know the look. The bottom of the hair flips under sharply, creating a rounded, almost helmet-like shape. It might seem polished at first, but for most women over 60, that bend at the bottom does more harm than good. Here's why. That exaggerated curl at the ends flattens the silhouette. Instead of soft layers and natural flow, you get a boxy, compressed shape. It adds bulk right around the chin, exactly where many of us try to soften. For women with a fuller face or a double chin, this rounded bottom acts like a frame, highlighting the exact areas we want to lift. Instead of elongating the neck or defining the jawline, it pulls everything in, making the haircut feel dated, even matronly. But don't worry, you don't need to stop styling altogether. You just need to rethink how you style, a more modern approach. Let the movement begin higher up. Use a round brush or a soft wave technique to add curve from mid-shaft down, not just at the very ends. This creates flow, not bounce. It allows your elegant bob over 60 to move naturally, without that exaggerated flip under. And if you're using a flat iron or curling wand, keep the twist subtle. Think of it more like a whisper than a statement. This small change makes a big difference, especially when paired with the right cut, because a bob should feel easy, graceful, current, not overly styled or forced into shape. So the next time you reach for your brush or blow dryer, ask yourself, am I adding life or locking myself into a shape that no longer reflects me. Let your hair move. Let it breathe. Because when the shape is right and the styling is gentle, you don't just wear a haircut, you wear confidence. So now you know the 5 most common bob haircut mistakes that can quietly shift your look away from the elegant, confident woman you truly are. And more importantly, you now know what to do instead, because this stage of life, it deserves softness, it deserves shape, it deserves movement that mirrors your grace, not rules that confine you. The right bob haircut for women over 60 isn't about chasing trends or hiding your age. It's about choosing a shape that lifts, that frames, that celebrates the woman you've become. One gentle layer at a time, one soft sweep of hair away from your cheek, one thoughtful decision that says, I know who I am, and this hair reflects that. So the next time you sit in the salon chair, you won't guess. You'll know what works. Because now you're not just choosing a haircut, you're choosing how you show up. And that is powerful. If this video helped you feel a little more seen, a little more inspired, I'd be so honored if you'd like this video, share it with a friend, or leave a comment about your own bob journey. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. We've got so many more beautiful conversations ahead. Until next time, stay graceful, stay curious, and wear your story beautifully.